Hi students, in continuation to our previous video module, let me discuss in this video the methods of communications. Of course, you will understand very clearly different methods which are there in the communication. And before that, try to recollect the last class, last video session where we discussed about the need of the communication, then why the importance is increasing day by day in the present context. So keeping in mind that, so let us look at this video module to understand different methods of communications. So the main aim of this module is to understand the methods which are involving in the communications, and then how we supposed to use these methods and when and how. So such things you will learn in this module, right? If you just look at the methods that are there in the communications, right? So broadly you can just look at the people communication with each other in a number of ways that depends upon the message and its context in which it is being sent, right? So that is the one important aspect. Keeping in mind this, you can see that broadly there are two methods, right, in communications: verbal communication and non-verbal communications, right? So in verbal communication, again there are two types: oral communication and written communications. In the non-verbal communications, you will find there are a couple of methods like body language, sign language, symbols, and para-language, and circumstantial language. So these are the other aspects under the non-verbal communications. So if you just see further the verbal communications, the verbal communication refers to the form of communication in which message is transmitted verbally, right? So through words. So communication is done by words of mouth and a piece of writing, right? So in verbal communication, remember that acronym like thank you, right? Keep it short and then simple. Okay. So then verbal communication is divided into two things like oral and then written communication. So in this, further you will understand the oral communication is something, right? The spoken words are used. It includes the face-to-face conversation, speech, telephonic conversation, videos, radio, television, voice over, internet, and so on. Right. The communication is influenced by pitch, volume, speech, and clarity of the speaking. So these are the certain aspects of oral communications. So here advantage is it brings quick feedback, because face to face and direct you are actually conversating with others, and by reading facial expressions and then body language one can guess so whether he or she should trust what is being said or not. So that is also another important aspect and the major advantage of this oral. And here there is a little disadvantage, right? In face-to-face discussions, user is unable to deeply think about what is delivering, so this can be counted as a fault, right? And when we are listening to others face-to-face, since we don't have any much time to analyze the interpretation, so sometimes there is a error in this one. Except that, so oral communication has its own advantages. And further, if you see the written communications, so written communication, the signs or symbols are used to communicate. In written communication message, it can be transmitted via emails, letters, reports, memos, and then notes or whatever it is. So you are just sending a letter, and the written communication is most common form of communication being used in the business and at workplace. Advantage is the messages can be edited and revised. The written communication provides record, right, evidence and backup. A written message enables the receiver to fully understand and then send appropriate feedback. So Here the disadvantage is written communication does not bring instant feedback. It takes more time to compose a written message as a reply, and compared to word of mouth, and number of people struggles for writing ability. So when the writing ability is not that much, so even whatever that we want to intended to inform, so that may not reach exactly the sender. So that is the one small the drawback in the communications, right? So further, if you see the another mode of communication, the method of communication is non-verbal, which is equally important. And then non-verbal communication is the sending or receiving of the wordless message, such as gestures, body language, postures, tone of voice, or facial expressions. So such things, the non-verbal communications also convey a message to others. Right? It is all about the body language of speakers. Non-verbal communication has the following three elements. One is appearance. So the speaker appearance is one important aspect. So they're just saying here, so the dress is more important than address. What does it mean? So dress in the sense it is appearance. So address is something, your verbal communications. So orally you are just conveying something, but your appearance is not matching with your words. So the impact of communication may not be there. So that is the importance of appearance, right? The clothing, right, and hairstyle, neatness, use of cosmetics, surroundings, the room or size or light and decorations and furnishing. So all these are very important in the communications. So then in that way, the second important thing, element in the non-verbal communication is the body language. So the facial expression and gestures and then postures, so you are standing and then so how you present yourself physically, right, and its appearance is more important. So the sound, the voice, the tone, the volume, the speech, the rate, so the vocal cuts, and then its vibrations. So that is also very important in the communication. So in that way, you can see the non-verbal communication is the second most important the method of communications, right? So with this, let me stop here. And right, in this module, we discussed about the right methods of communications. Broadly, there are two methods. One is right, so verbal communication, and then second one is non-verbal communications. So in verbal communications, the most important two things are oral and then written. And in non-verbal, mostly it is related to body language, our gestures and our the facial expressions, and then our appearance, how we just present ourselves before others, so that also convey the message to others. So with this, let me stop here and looking forward to meet you in video 40.